Yeah. it's
I was
fine.
already in
We
that.
were- Okay.
I left at
I'm
5.
gonna call this to order. We are super late, but we're gonna call the budget hearing to order at 5:25. We gotta go through this pretty quickly because we are supposed to start our next meeting at 5:30 and we're gonna be late for that meeting, so. All right, Amira, you wanna do roll call? Oh, here. Oh, wait, that's wrong.
It would be the board. It would be the board, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Doug Mendenhall is absent, and Greg Kennerly,
Here.
Michaela Hamerson,
Here.
Kathy DeHers Carreri,
Here,
John Estel, absent, Lisa Lanza, absent, and Mr. Todd Vaughn.
Here.
Very fantastic. Good job.
Okay, let's go ahead and do the pledge of allegiance. Jennifer, you can be on mute. Let's see. Greg, do you want to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, our first order of business, our consent agenda. There you are.
I am so surprised to find the door.
Hello. There you go.
Hi.
You were online just a second ago, right?
Yes,
And,
but
okay.
I got online way a long time ago.
Okay, I know.
Because I
Kathy,
didn't know I get here. on-
we just got quorum, so you haven't missed anything. We just did the pledge.
Awesome, that's great.
Okay. Oh, and we have another one. Hello. Okay, consent agenda. So we do have the draft budget committee meeting minutes. We can't actually approve those because they need to be approved by the budget
Yeah.
committee.
Sorry about that.
Do we want to just skip this or you want me to read through them? So for information
You can skip it.
purposes,
You can
we'll just
skip
skip it. Okay, we'll just skip that then. Okay, so we're moving right along to item number 5, which is the presentation of the fiscal year 25-26 budget. Our first order of business is this letter to ODOT. So I believe you wanted to talk about that.
It's just a letter where you
Yeah.
propose that, because I need to have that discussion with them about the budget, because.
Yeah, so, basically we've been working with trying to resolve this, the charger issue and, obviously it's an issue we didn't create. None of us here have any responsibility for the purchasing of the chargers, the funding for the chargers, and the failure, to, fulfill, the requirements of that grant that was related to the chargers. But we are sitting here stuck with the problem. And we feel like, at least I can speak for our executive team, we feel like it's in the best interest of the district to resolve the issue with ODOT in the most amicable way. The board has to make the decision whether or not, has to decide how it wants to, what it wants to do. There's reasons for not doing it. There's reasons for doing it, for resolving amicably. There's reasons for not. And so I respect both of those things, but, my recommendation is, what would we be, thinking about and working on if it weren't for this? This is the reoccurring thing the district itself is the last thing we need to do to kind of clean up the mess that was left behind. And so what I proposed, and this was all based on board approval, was, and by the way, it's $250,000 is what they're asking for and repayment. We're having a very hard time getting the chargers sold because nobody wants them. We have a different government regulations that we're faced with the federal government. There's not a lot of people looking for them. The brokers don't even want them. And then when brokers don't want them, that means they can't sell them. So brokers know they're on the forefront of the marketplace. If they can make money on it, they would grab them up. They don't want them. They don't even want to do like consignment deals. They just don't want to touch it. They're also out of warranty at this point in time. This deal has been gone. George, was it 3 years ago? Yeah, it's a long time. So they're long out of warranty. They're still in the box, brand new, if anybody wants them. Still palletized. I mean, we can ship them right now tomorrow.
There's no company.
Yeah, exactly. There's no company even to warranty them anyway. So, that's a very good point. But what we sort of discussed this and looked at the budget and figured out, look, I think we can make this happen. This is also kind of contingent on, well, it's contingent, this proposal is contingent on your board approval. It's also contingent on an increase in funding, I think in 2020, let's see, yeah, 2026. Yep, that's right. But we would start, June 2027 biennium with a $10,000 a quarter, just to show good faith that we're willing to get this resolved and paid off as the, you know, as it's a debt that ODOT claims the district owes them. And we could start that, and then, if the STIF funds increase by 20% or more, which is somewhat expected, cause I haven't seen a major tax increase, not pass a super majority, in the Senate and the House. So that said, the transportation package may pass. We're expecting it to pass. It may not pass, but if it did pass, then we'd be able to do a balloon payment in 2026 when those additional 20% hit hit our bank account, expectedly hit our bank account. So we would remain if we sold somehow sold the chargers prior to that date, the 26th date where we would make that balloon payment, we would then give 50% of the proceeds to ODOT and continue with those payments until the balloon payment clears it up in 2026 when those funds hit. So it'd be summer 2026 is what would be expected.
So
So
are we negotiating with ODOT? Is that what that letter is? Is it our side of a negotiation?
it's not really a negotiation. I think it's a good faith offer to clean up someone else's mess that we're left with. And it resolves the problem on our side. And then ODOT is looking at accepting these, you know, more of a long drawn out payment system so that we're not hurting the district. But you know, it's not us taking fault in any way. It's just us saying as a district, the district itself failed to meet the requirements, and we're just gonna clean it up and move on.
So just so that we can keep this limited to what we're here for, which is the budget hearing. This is for consideration only for changes that we need to make for the budget, because we're not passing this right now. We're not even agreeing to it right now. You guys haven't seen this letter and you need to be able to read it fully. But if, just knowing this is on the horizon, that we may need to be making $10,000 a quarter payments, we need to know that to approve our budget, so that money needs to be there. And then we can decide in our regular meeting whether or not we want to move forward with this, or we can have a special meeting to talk about it, or whatever we need to do, but all he's doing right now is saying, we have a deal on the table right now that ODOT would be willing to accept. And in our budget, we need to allow for that if we're even going to consider that that could be a possibility. So that's just where we are.
So the reason we're considering it today is in case this goes that direction, we need to be budgeted for it.
Exactly. That's it.
Is that possible? Do we have the money after what, you know?
So can you pull up the one? Okay.
So now we're moving into
Lisa's here.
5.2, which is the
Lisa's here.
proposed budget.
Can you go to the elbow
That's nice.
one?
I don't have that agenda, so I wasn't.
I know, I didn't have it either, they just printed one copy and had it.
It's a
Oh, so
secret.
you have the
you
only
can't-
copy.
Yeah.
Okay, that's.
I just printed it off. Sorry.
I was like, oh.
Can you
I
slow
need
down?
right now.
Oh,
I'm talking about this.
Has the 250 number ever changed?
No,
I mean, why are we so hell bent on
No,
it
that's
has to
good.
be
Can you-
250?
I'm not hell bent on it.
Cause that's the
Yeah.
only problem I have. If we're negotiating,
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like it's a negotiation.
Yeah, well, that's why I asked the question, Kathy.
So,
okay, let's stay focused on this.
It's
not
really a negotiation.
Guys.
They're
Okay,
not
So
willing to
right
negotiate
now-
on the amount they claim is owed.
we will talk about the negotiation at another time.
Sorry.
So-
Cheers
Where's
to
your
that.
gavel, Jerry? You need a gavel.
so right now, the budget that was approved by the budget committee that has been forwarded to the board
Hmm.
had an unappropriated ending balance of $8,534. That included that included 20,000 to ODOT. This commitment would make it 40,000. So that would be an additional 20,000, which would then put us in the red.
Okay,
But George, do you wanna talk about?
So
some
what
of
we
the
did
savings?
was, we looked at our routes, and so
Mhm.
understanding that the way the routes were, we looked at the ride share. We did a lot of data crunching over the past month. And we were over servicing certain parts of our routes, and that was with the Winston, South County. And so we have 3 vehicles that are servicing that area, and we're just losing money left and right. And then also too, with Sutherland, we had to do some, changing of some hours,
Mhm.
because we were starting really early and, no one's riding the bus,
Mm.
right? And then on the weekend for the red line, green line, we also found that certain hours and certain pickup points, there's nobody riding it. And so we're
Okay.
literally paying for mileage and for cost of staff
Yeah,
for nobody riding these buses. So we've done some reroutes. We're not reducing services, right? We're
Right.
just allowing for people to actually use the service in the time that they're riding.
right.
So it's created a substantial amount of money and cost savings.
And this doesn't reflect
This
that.
is
That
not
does not, but I will
Okay.
show you one that does.
Yes.
Okay.
So we went with a very conservative number,
Mhm.
calculating miles and the new routes and everything like that. We projected it'll be higher, but we are being very conservative in this number, and we have found a cost savings of 275,000
Over
Wow.
there.
a year.
That's a
Plus
reserve right
an
there.
additional $25,000
Mhm.
that is reflective on this budget here that we
Right.
found through the red line, green line, just on the weekend.
Oh, wow.
And so, but now talking about this new budget, it's an additional 275. Now,
Let me pull the one up.
because of that 275, the real cost savings,
Mhm.
we see it to be
3%.
about $199,000.
Mhm.
And the money that is being eaten up to the 275 is money that is going towards a COLA increase for the drivers.
Mhm.
So the board will have a decision of, you can actually afford to make a 2.5% COLA
Yeah.
increase or at a 5%.
Oh, wow.
At 5%, it brings the balance down to 199.
Okay.
So we'd be in a plus of 199.
What
Wow.
was our budget meeting, COLA?
That's what those,
There was
those
3%.
minor-
3% is what we had figured. So you're talking about an increase to 5% and we'd still be 190 in the black.
199.
199 in the black.
No, we'll just be late to it.
There is additional funds that we're also looking into, and that requires, we're not ready to discuss it with the board,
Mhm.
but it is related to some other executive functions that we believe we can take. But
Okay.
we're just not ready to discuss it yet. We're still working through that. Next month.
That's really great, though, to dig in and be doing that. I mean, it's amazing when you really look,
Yeah,
you can really, get results, so I appreciate.
They've done a phenomenal job looking at it and being able to mathematically tie
Right,
slight reductions in what it would cost in maintenance and fuel. I mean, we're spending $20,000 a month on fuel.
Right.
And so being efficient is just good for everybody. It's good for the
Absolutely.
taxpayer, and it saves fuel and it saves everything else.
Right.
So yeah, they've done a phenomenal job.
That's- yeah,
It's
it's
a
excellent.
reserve, because we haven't had a reserve in,
So this is the
Yeah,
new
they'll build a
budget
reserve
with the,
and give a 5% COLA.
this
Oh
is the
my
new
gosh.
budget with the 3% COLA. And
okay,
it has an unappropriated ending balance of 262,534. If we opt to do a 5%, which would be that other one with the 5%, the other one I sent you.
and that would be 199,000.
Yes,
And how long has it been since the drivers had a COLA? 3 years?
it's been 2 years,
2 years.
2 years
full
without,
years.
2 years without.
anything, so that would still leave us a savings of 199,000 we'd still have.
and that is including the repayment plan.
Yes,
That's-
and that's bumping that up to 40,000 instead of 20 for the year.
Okay. Well, that's amazing.
Mhm.
That's really good. Does anybody have any questions about the current budget or any sections that we want to look at specifically?
The one that we went over in detail last time.
Well, this is.
Yeah, they were-
The same thing, but it
Okay.
has the savings on the routes that we've
Yeah,
And we're not, like George said, we're not decreasing services. We have just figured out a more efficient way to do it. And still make the connection points. There's a lot of moving parts. They have to be
Mhm.
able to connect with the inner city buses and all of that.
That just makes so much sense though. It really does.
Yes,
So
so,
it's very important for the board to understand like the direction that we're taking
Mhm.
is that over this next 2 years,
Mhm.
we are looking to, how do we sustain the organization? and
Right.
Build a savings plan. It's not about increasing services right now.
Right,
If increasing services were to happen, it would be off of the help of the local municipalities. Because right now, what we try to do is just try to streamline and be bare bone as possible by providing all the services that we need to provide.
right,
Now, if there's any conversation in additional
Mhm.
services, it has to come off of the backs of the local municipalities.
right,
Because now we are there, right? And this
Right.
gives us enough space that we're not stressing out at the end of the quarter.
Mhm.
Is, oh, can ODOT hurry up and pay us, right? Because we don't
Right.
have any more money in the account.
yeah.
Okay.
And then what about, vehicles? I mean, are, if we stay on this plan, are we going to have money to purchase new vehicles?
So yeah, so the good thing about the vehicles is that when, as we were doing this exercise,
Mhm.
we were also seeing that we have, some of the vehicles are just too big.
Mhm.
Like it, why do we have 40 passenger when we're only picking up 10 people?
Yeah.
Right, yeah,
And so we're gonna be able to put some of those, we're not gonna retire them, we're gonna keep them as reserve.
right,
We're gonna get the smaller vehicles to do the routes that we feel that they need smaller vehicles.
right.
So it's gonna help us
And that saves
maintain.
gas.
And it saves gas, right?
And maintenance,
also-
cause those big ones are the ones that are always in the shop.
Yeah,
Right.
It makes
the
more
oldest.
sense PR wise too. My dad's complaint is always, look at these big buses with nobody on them.
Mhm.
And that makes the taxpayer feel like you're wasting our money here.
Mhm.
So I think this is a really good PR perspective too, to be
Mhm.
having it be appropriate. I think the whole thing is very commendable. Again, I
Right.
really
These smaller
appreciate.
buses are, we have them and they're not in use right now.
Mhm.
Well,
Is that correct? Is that correct?
they're in use, it's just the fact that so.
some are
by-
sitting.
Some are sitting, right, but some that we are using,
Yeah,
we can redistribute those and put them in other areas where there were bigger buses. Where we don't need those bigger buses.
I see. Well, there's only so many hours in a day for a bus to haul passengers, so you know.
Exactly, and so what it does is, again, it allows us time. For us to figure out what's gonna happen with the federal government and state government when it
Mhm.
comes to their procurement grants. Right, and now we have that time.
Right.
Yeah,
Right, cause we're not in an urgent need to go get a big bus. We don't need a big bus right now.
right,
We have smaller buses that are more up to date and we can replace those as those are way cheaper than a big, large bus that's gonna cost us 200,000.
makes so much sense.
Yeah, it's so much healthier to work proactively rather than reactively too. We've always been on our heels, like reacting to everything, and you never get anywhere doing that, you know? So I just, like I said, I just think this is fantastic. It's a good note for me to leave on.
One thing
Yeah.
for the board to
Yeah,
understand
it's a good
as,
thing.
you know, as we continue to move on in board meetings is that. Understanding, not to blame previous administrations or anything, but just to learn from
Right.
from previous experiences is that. What was the purpose of all the buses? And as we were pinning out all of these routes
Mhm.
and doing it on our
Remix.
route mix.
Mhm.
It was like, wow, it really told a story.
Mhm.
It was for mere presence. It wasn't for service, it was for presence, right? It was like,
Hmm.
we wanna get as many bus stops out there, we wanna get as many vehicles on the road. But we never asked whether the community was gonna use them
Right,
to that amount of presence.
yeah.
That's a
So-
huge.
There was a vision to build something very big, and I think we were moving really quickly. When I came into it, there was still that vision, and one by one, those pieces sort of fell, and I think we're in a
Thinking
better
of the
spot
field
right
of
now.
dreams.
Yeah, the key piece to this, to the strategy that they're putting together here is bringing it down to total efficiency
Mhm.
and then being better prepared to grow from that
Yeah.
position
Yeah.
than from a position of growing broken,
Yeah.
wasteful methodologies of managing the district. The other great piece of this, the big picture piece of this, that George talked about is, if we do grow next, the next growing point in the future needs to be supported by the community. It can't be supported by taxpayers in Eastern Oregon. It can't be supported by taxpayers in Salem or Portland. It needs to be supported by here, oh God. That's, yeah, hopefully we're still online. But it needs to be supported by the cities and the towns. We talked about this coming in where we don't have lights over our, on our bus stops, which creates a security issue. The lights are controlled by the city. So, you know, working with this really sets us up to build better partnerships with the county, with the
I
cities
think you just
and the
have to
districts
put
that we
down
serve,
logos, Amir.
which is really important. Because if they don't want to grow it,
Yeah.
Right.
why should it
Yeah,
grow?
One
It
of
has to be a
those-
priority.
One of those
absolutely.
Yeah.
documents.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is really
So,
brilliant.
we do need to move
Thank those
into,
guys for that.
we need to move into our other meeting because we're 15 minutes late and it's on a different Zoom. And so we need to notify people if they're sitting there waiting for us. We had one more section that was a point of controversy in the budget committee meetings, and that was your salary.
No, yeah, my
So
salary,
can we
exactly.
can we go to that section?
What would that?
It would be the GF admin tab. Is this the 5% or is this, this is the 5%?
Yeah, 5%.
Okay,
GF.
Yep.
So, we have finalized the contract with the CEO, that was a month, that was last month's meeting, correct? Yeah, so a month ago,
make it just a little smaller.
and,
Little smaller?
oh, there we go, they can probably see that now.
There you go.
So, we had,
Oh, that's
hired-
the 3%. We need the 5% one, I'm sorry. Well, I guess,
is it the same?
no, because it's
different.
either a 3% COLA or a 5, so I guess you guys need to decide
But this was, I don't know if they've ever received what the board approved.
there.
I do.
Uh-uh.
No, that's not just sent out, and in fact, we would be talking about this in executive session because it's a.
Okay, so not talking about it now.
Well, it's, we kind of have to talk about it because the number doesn't match and there's not enough in there to pay the CEO for the budget that was, or for the salary that was agreed to by the board. And so that's a conversation that this board needs to have that. we
But there
need
is
to-
now. Thanks to two people in the room. Right? Cause we have the extra money that they are.
Yeah.
So we have the money now.
Do we have it or are we going to have it?
We
I
have
think
not
it's an
implemented any of the
executive
changes yet, so to the,
I don't think you can talk about it out here.
We would be able to implement the changes beginning on July.
We could talk about it if I okayed it.
Oh, well, you're not God.
No,
So,
no, I can
I
actually
just-
okay, it's law.
He- yeah, he
I can actually okay it, to talk about it in public.
The,
Which
Oh,
is-
really?
which is fine.
Okay.
the ORS
Yeah.
says that he can request a public hearing, so we can talk about it.
But don't we have to announce that?
So are
No,
we're
because
still
that's
in the
part of the-
budget, we're still in
Part
the
of the
budget
Right.
meeting.
meeting, right? We're
Yes.
still, okay. So what are we trying to accomplish right now in this budget meeting?
We need to pass this budget, but the budget right now does not cover the contract that we have with our CEO.
Oh, I see.
so what would we need to add to that number? The one in the yellow, the top.
Because this would be at the 5%, so this gives us 199
Yes.
as a reserve.
Well,
Well,
the
then
hard
I
thing
don't
to
know about
understand
that.
for me is we're talking about a budget that we didn't have at 5% when we discussed it. So we knew how much in the black we were after we made the cuts on different line items. And now we're talking about the 5%, and you're mixing, and we're mixing that in.
Well, we have one with the 3%.
Before going to the
Oh,
next.
So do you wanna pull the 3% up so they can?
Should
see that
I,
one?
should I clarify that? Or do you wanna clarify that?
It's,
So
I
that's
think
the
you
3%.
should because it's otherwise,
Otherwise, it could be,
So we
you
were
guys
like
could be.
9,000.
I'm just-
Got it, okay, I understand now what needs to happen, I'm sorry. So the salary that the board agreed to with me was 130,000, not 122, I believe that's the correct
I was
number.
just
Correct.
pulling it up.
Okay,
Yeah, but I think
So-
that's right.
this budget right, as of right now, needs to reflect the $130,000 salary before we can go into the, regular public
I
meeting.
guess you guys need to decide if you wanna do a 3% COLA or the 5, because then we can bring up whatever budget that is, and then we can add the numbers in, the extra numbers.
Well, I think, why don't we go for,
It's okay to discuss the salary that the board, we can do this publicly. I'm saying, I'm giving Brandy permission for
okay.
the board to openly discuss it. And so maybe that's what you wanted me to do. I'm trying to figure out, sorry, that's what I'm trying to communicate. So hopefully that's clear.
Okay,
Board can discuss it. Publicly.
why don't we look at what the 5% is with making the changes with the contract with the CEO and see where that puts us? And then we know if we have to scale things.
So how much do we need to add to that?
So.
So you're saying 130,000, right?
Right.
So can you change that top yellow one, Amir, to 130,000?
See, this has been a moving target all along, which is something everybody needs to understand. For instance, we didn't know that there was gonna be a $9,000 higher cost for the health insurance increases. When we were negotiating with Ben, we didn't even know that was coming as far as we were looking at the budget and negotiating with Ben. Ben asked for 134. We told him we could go higher than 130, and we thought that was well covered. But then when we come in with the budget committee, we find out there's a 9,000 something raise in the cost of the health insurance for the employees. This has been a moving target the whole way. You know, we don't wanna lose Ben as a CEO, you know.
And
it's-
then in the retirement, you'll have to, where it says, retirement,
Mhm.
click on that cell. I think you can just cancel that, can't you? I know,
Okay, retirement?
yeah, you need to add $600 to that, so I would make it 48,100. It'll change just a few things, but, that's gonna be really close. So now go back to the LB one. Go down. So that leaves us 193,476.
And so the 5% COLA
That's
increase.
with the 5%.
So we are putting these savings of changing the routes into the budget that we're working on right now. Okay, so we're taking consideration of Ben's salary and the changes and the 5% COLA. That's what we're producing right here.
Yes, and the 40,000 instead of 20,000
All right, well, that makes a big
for
difference.
the year. to
But it's like I
adopt.
said, it's working.
Yeah.
And this is well, there's not much to talk about. This
Oh, yeah,
is it. This is. gotta be
again,
it.
I think we can say 2 people saved the day.
3, Andre. Well, actually, Andre.
Sorry, Andre, I
Andre,
didn't
yeah,
mean.
Andre's in here and Nakia, his lead, they've.
So,
been
well,
working
we
pretty
really
diligently
appreciate you
on-
guys.
Yeah, this is incredible.
This budget's a projection, you know, so there's always unanticipated things with any, you know, organization. This is this is a projection of what we're gonna do. I mean, anything could happen and we can be sued, you know, anything could be happen that could change these numbers. But the main thing is that we got lots of margin of error now that we did not have throughout all these discussions. We were right on the edge.
Yeah,
And now that all changed, but that's a pretty,
We
this
were
has been a
actually-
We
moving
just
target.
kind
We
of
were actually
finalized all this
halfway
on
over the
Friday,
edge.
so it's
that's
been,
amazing.
it's been a process to
Yeah.
go through.
It's really good.
Long process.
I know, I mean, everybody was sort of talking about it at our, town hall, right?
Yep.
That we knew there was money there, we just didn't know how much and how to get there yet. And you guys figured it out.
And the actual was more, cause I was saying it was roughly $500,000 for biennium, and now it looks at, right now, they've gotten to the point where it's gonna be 600,000 for the
Yeah.
biennium, and there's a couple other things we can't discuss publicly, but the, you know, board would need to, you know,
Mhm.
look at, but we could do more than, we can do more than that too,
Yeah,
without reducing any service to the
But
people.
it's setting the right bones, you know what I
Yep.
mean? It's what you can actually grow from.
Yep,
which is also really a neat thing, I think.
It's very
Are you
similar to
just-
turning around any business.
Yeah,
You
I
go
just
in
think
and you go,
it's-
get rid of all the stuff that's
Yeah.
hurting it, get it down to what's its core
Brass
function,
tacks.
and then you can grow from there.
And the drivers needed a raise. I mean, the drivers have
know.
expressed
They need a
a
raise.
great disappointment with where they're at.
We have
And,
no reason, there's no reason for a driver to come work for us and drive for us than to go drive for a school and drive a school bus, cause they get more money.
Yeah.
And so until, we're not gonna have the best drivers until we can, you can graduate from the school bus to the transit agency.
Yeah,
And that should be a graduation, should be graduation responsibility and pay.
Yeah,
yeah, I agree.
Beautiful. What
All
do we
right, you
gotta do?
guys, well, we are almost a half an hour late to our regular meeting, so
Do we vote on anything here?
we need
Yes.
to, we
Yep.
need to adopt this.
So I
budget.
will make a motion to adopt this budget as we've just discussed with all the changes that we've discussed here today.
Is there a
I'll second it.
second? Greg seconded. All those in favor, or any more discussion? No, good. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it passes unanimously. Thank you. We do have public comment before we adjourn. Kat?
I'm just here as a public observation. Observation. I should have kept my mouth shut all along. I can't resist.
I hear you.
So can I switch it to?
So, well, let me go ahead and adjourn. We're gonna adjourn at 5:56 PM. Thank you, guys. We'll see you in regular session.
You'll have to log on to the next link, Lisa, and